Good afternoon, all. Thank you for joining us for today's PCCS emPower Hour, where we have people in the community and within our agency come together, talk about how we are reconfiguring humankind. With us today, as always, is Mr. Kevin Roman. We have Andrew K., Gabby, and Doreen. So welcome, guys. If you guys want to do a quick little introduction, that would be great.
So, if you haven't seen the last 4, 5, 6 episodes already, my name is Kevin Roman. I'm the development strategist of PCCS. Andrew?
Hello, my name is Andrew K. I am the Employment Supports Coordinator for PCCS, and this is my first time here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming.
Hi, my name is Doreen. I'm a DSP/job employment coach with PCCS.
And I am Gabriella Nuara, and I am the Assistant Division Director of Career and Residential Support, so I oversee our employment program with our lovely employment team here today.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for coming. We're so happy to have you and kind of dive into what it is that you guys do, how you guys have been coping through all of this, where we're going from here. So to get started, I have a couple questions for all of you. So whoever wants to answer first, please, by all means, take the reins. What is each of your roles within the department? So maybe Andrew, do you want to start?
So my role is pretty much overseeing Doreen and our other staff in providing further education in terms of building work experience, professionalism skills, and confidence building. I've been in the employment department for almost a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
And I started out as a job coach myself, and pre everything, pre-world ending, me and the other job coaches would go out into the field to either support them at jobs that they had or to help them build on-hand work experiences.
That sounds great. What is like a typical work day for you?
Are we talking now or back then? No.
Generally speaking, if life was okay and you were able to wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, it's time for me to go into work without a mask on," what does it look like?
So the day starts. I go into the office, get myself settled in, see what's on the agenda today. We have our job coaches who provide Prebook services in building. So part of what I do is I'll like sort of sit in, kind of see how they're going, what progress I need to be able to see, and then from there maybe build upon new studies, new worksheets, new workshops for them to go over. So Doreen is working with someone who is building their professionalism skills, and they're getting to a point where they are better understanding the material. I extend upon that to now, okay, so now how do we limit distractions and retain professionalism without being the persistent amount of guidance? Let them kind of like stand on their own and see how they do.
That's really interesting. Doreen, do you want to talk about what a day in the life of Doreen is like?
Well, before we had COVID, I would go into the office and I would work with my individuals, and depending on who the individual is, that's how I would adjust my workday.
Gotcha. So what are some of the activities then with the people that we support that you do?
I do, well, before COVID, it would be working on professionalism. It would be how to talk to people, maybe how to answer a telephone professionally. It would also be maybe picking up social cues with your coworkers. It could also be how to, it could be a lot of different things. It depends on each individual.
Great. So, and Gabby, do you want to talk about what a typical? I'm going to use that term loosely. A typical workday would be for you.
Yeah, so no 2 days are ever the same here at PCCS, as I'm sure that every single guest has ever said. But I think a lot of what I do is a lot of the reconstructuring of the program. So we didn't have previously, like when I came into the employment program, we wanted to make it so that it was a little bit more where there was like a tangible curriculum kind of way for us to kind of ensure that the people that we support are getting exactly the support that they need. So a lot of it is creating the workshops alongside Andrew, where I will kind of like say like, hey, these are some great ideas where we could send, like we could have these job coaches teach these professional skills, or it could be things like getting the sites, which Andrew is also going to assist me with. Making sure that the day-to-day runs smoothly, provide support wherever is kind of really needed. And then just making sure that we're kind of keeping in touch with our employment sites that we have with the people that we support, they actually work. And then also things like intakes, outreach, making sure that everyone knows about our program, what it is that we do, ensuring that people are like kind of like aware of the support we provide, so that we can get some more enrollments into our program, and people can kind of really see like what we're about. And we really have come a long way. When I first started, it was a very, very small program. We've grown pretty quickly, which is great. It's wonderful. Whatever we're doing is really working. And even with the whole COVID kind of thing, we definitely have maintained those relationships and those skills with the people that we support. I mean, they're still getting services. They're still working on those goals, which is really great. It's really cool.
That's awesome. So, I know we keep talking about employment supports.
Yeah.
Do you think you can kind of explain some of the various employment supports that we provide?
Yeah, 100%. So there's a variety of different programs that deal with employment specifically, and they're all different in the way that they are structured. So there's something called community-based Prebook, which we have here. Community-based Prebook is very much soft skill stuff. So a lot of like the soft skills that are maybe people that are just starting to get into the employment world, they want a job, but they may need help with building a resume, or they may need help with learning how to be professional, or have relationships with their coworkers or their bosses, or learning how to do certain skills even. So that's definitely like the Prebook program. It's a very basic, let's learn these soft skills so that we can get you into the employment world kind of thing.
Awesome.
The next program after that would be Pathways.
Here is some information for
So
skills and
Pathways,
employment.
so Pathways is the next employment program after that. So that's a little bit different. It is a time sensitive program that lasts for about a year, and that's a little bit more of a rigorous kind of program. Within a year, the idea is that by the end of the year, you would be landing a job. So the Prebook is a little bit more lax. It kind of it doesn't have that rigorous kind of thing. As long as we're seeing improvement on the person we support and getting those goals like kind of accomplished and new goals coming in. Whereas the Pathways, it's really something for them they're really going to land employment in a year. So that program is structured the first 3 months usually is like very workshop heavy, a lot of like refresher skills. Like this is how you go into an interview. This is how we build a resume. This is how you answer a phone or you write an email and things like that. And then the next set of couple of months after that is them going into a physical site. The next program after that is called SEMP, which we have, and that's when someone lands a job. So the job coaching there is very limited. Someone may be working 20 hours a week, but they only get a certain amount of hours of job coaching. It's very much less hand or the job coach consistently being there. With Prebook and Pathways, there's a consistent job coach all the time. But in SEMP, once they get their job, the job coach kind of pulls back a little bit. So they'll be there a little bit more in the very beginning when they first start working. But then as they see that they're getting used to their job and their role, they'll pull back and they'll come and they'll make weekly visits. And they keep in touch with the employer, their bosses, their supervisors, and they'll, kind of come in and say, hey, I just want to check in with you and see how Johnny's doing. He seems to be doing well. And, maybe the employer turns around and says, well, Johnny is great. But I noticed that, when Johnny is stocking the shelves, sometimes he doesn't put the labels all the way out on the shelf. So the employment coach will be like, okay, no problem. And then they'll go in and they'll kind of work with Johnny a little bit more to kind of remind Johnny, okay, like make sure that you're sticking the labels out and kind of monitor that, and then pull back a little bit once they see they mastered that skill. So that's SEMP. And then the last program that we have is Access VR. And Access VR is a little bit different. It's a lot less support than most of the programs. So Access VR is really like the individual is really kind of doing everything really on their own, and they're getting a little bit of guidance and support from us. So we are an Access VR provider. So a lot of the employment programs that I discussed previously, you do need to have that OPWDD waiver service. That's the Office of with People with Developmental Disabilities. So that waiver service that gives you access to all those programs, you do need to have that. With Access VR, that's not always the case. You don't technically need to have waiver services. So you can get that without them. You go to the Access VR office and you actually like apply to see if you are eligible to receive those services. And then if you are eligible, Access will give the person that we support kind of like a list of providers, and then they choose the provider that they want to provide the specific service. It's definitely one of the newer programs. It's definitely a little bit challenging at first to navigate that. It's a lot of information there, but the service of it is really great. It really does provide a little bit more job opportunities, and it even it gives the individual sense of really they're doing a lot on their own. So little things and questions and concerns and maybe like things where they need a little bit of help on, they have that guidance, but really they're taking everything on their own. So it's a lot less of a supportive program in that sense.
Well, that sounds awesome. Now that we have all of those different options, Andrew, I'm gonna transfer over to you. But how have you seen that employment supports have been changed now that businesses had shut down and we aren't able to go in person, and maybe some of these businesses even went out of business? What changes have you seen now that we're in the current situation that we're in?
I think to start positive on a positive note, the people we support, those who have unfortunately lost work because of COVID, don't hold. They showcase a stronger sense of resilience, optimism. It's been fortunate that they haven't been beaten by the pandemic. So the people that are out of work right now, we do our best to work with to try and make sure that their wits, that their skills don't get rusty, that they don't lose that sense of hope and focus, so that when things are ready to pick up again, that whether or not their former job takes them back or not, that they haven't lost their progress, and they can more smoothly transition to the next chapter, whatever that might be. The people who are still currently employed, we have someone who works in a supermarket who our job coach still sees once a week. The pandemic hasn't necessarily affected their spirits, but you could definitely see the sort of change of their level of being more cautious. And aside from like the mask and sometimes gloves, there's like a mental sense of like everything around me is dangerous. So our job coach really has like done her best to have them be aware of that it's okay to take precautions, but don't be scared of the world. So
that's awesome. So you just mentioned that some people that we support, they did lose their jobs due to the pandemic.
Yes.
Was it a majority that had lost their jobs, or do we still have a nice amount of people who are still employed?
the ratio is is pretty evident.
Mhm. Okay,
It's
cool.
kind of, it's kind of hard. It's just because it's kind of heartbreaking because to
Yeah.
have someone who was so excited to go to work, so excited to like really feel like they were earning something for themselves, and to have that out of their control lose that, it is
Yeah.
very devas- devastating. But
Mhm.
like I said, they're not defeated by it, and that's the best. That's like one of the best outcomes you could hope for. That they're not broken by it. So as the rail will pick up the pieces.
I think the other thing too that I just want to add in is that a lot of them, like a lot of the actual companies and stuff, like they haven't technically like lost their jobs, but they're also closed. So it's like at right now at this point, it's like kind of just like they're at a standstill. We always encourage them to kind of like say like if you would like to look for another job at this time, like you totally can. The one thing that's a little bit difficult for them and for us is that they love their jobs. You know what I mean? Like they worked hard to get these jobs, so they're kind of willing to kind of like wait, but it's also rewarding to see that like maybe some skills that like some of them are saying like, well, I like my job, but I wish I could get a promotion. You know what I mean? Or I wish I can make a little bit more money or something like that. So it's like right now at this time during the pandemic, like we have that opportunity to be like, okay, so like where is the next, like what are some other positions that are maybe in your job that like maybe you're interested in, like how can we grow from here, what do we need to work on to kind of get that next level of that position, or when is your next evaluation, you know what I mean, things like that. So I mean it really has posed a challenge for a lot of the people we support. It definitely has definitely kind of made us a little bit more aware of like them and their feelings, and nothing like this ever thought that they would ever think that this would happen and this would be the reason why they're kind of out of work. But it's nice to see that they haven't totally lost hope yet. Like they're willing to kind of go back to work as soon as they're ready. They keep in contact with us, and we're doing everything that we can to kind of help them.
Well, that seems so nice and so great, honestly, that it seems to be that your staff is really what is helping keep those spirits high and keep pushing on. And Doreen, with the pandemic, how have you been able to still support the people that we support through this time, being that some of them are any of them working remotely? What have been some of the changes that you have been facing?
Well, since the COVID, I have been working with Zoom with most of my families and the individuals that I support. In the beginning, it was a little rough, but so far they're doing really good. None of them really have any major issues. They look forward to the Zoom sessions. We're working on different programs. I have provided written material, so we go over the written material. We also do a Zoom social one night during the week where a couple of the families I work with, they get on, we play some games, and they still stay in contact with each other. We've been doing practicing phone conversations. We've been practicing mock interviews. We've been doing a lot of different things to keep them up with their skills, and they seem to enjoy it. They look forward to it.
I do think that it's interesting to add where you're talking about Zoom and doing phone interviews and things like that. Like in reality, depending on how this pandemic keeps going on, in reality, this is the new normal for a lot of people who are employed. So it almost opens up a different skill set that they need to kind of learn as well in that regard. They'll have to learn more about how Zoom works or how any of these telecommunications aspects lies. So it is difficult, I'm sure, but also in a lot of ways opens up different avenues for learning as well.
They seem to enjoy it. They look forward to it. In fact, some of them have asked me to work on certain skills because we watch a lot of YouTube videos. I'll pause it, we go over it, and they've been doing pretty good. I have two individuals. They've been doing outstanding, outstanding.
Nice.
They're doing really good, and I'm really proud of all of them. They really come through.
Nice.
it sounds like in a way you guys are almost forced into having to discuss different skills that are going to be the way of the world now. So in a way, maybe that's like a nice positive way of looking at it, that, you know what, the world is starting to become very remote and very technologically advanced. So it's so great that you guys have that positive outlook and that positive spirit through all of this. So another question that I have for you guys is, Doreen specifically, how did you feel being an essential worker during these uncertain times?
I'm very proud to be an essential worker. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's
Our
great.
our people we support shouldn't have to lose any services. We do what we have to do to keep them going.
Oh, that's so great. So you really do have that DSP strong spirit that we really love and admire. And we have
That's
want to
right,
thank
Andrew.
you.
What a nice shirt you have on. Would you like would you like to model that for our friends here?
Oh,
That's right,
Yes,
Marie.
there
That's
it
right.
We do want to thank you for being an essential worker and really just braving the day every single day and never giving up, even though your own anxieties and your own feelings, you know, had to kind of be put to the wayside. And it's just really, you know, we really do want to thank you and point that out, that, you know, you really are essential in all ways. Another question, Gabby. Being that we discussed a lot of the different programs that are involved, I am a parent of a person that we support. How do I know where my child fits in the employment umbrella?
Good question. Yeah, we definitely mainstreamed the way that we're kind of like doing that now. It's definitely something that is a little bit of a challenge, because especially when we have someone new that's coming to us that we don't really know them other than the paperwork that we read. How are we going to assess kind of like where they fall? So I typically have an intake meeting with the family, and I kind of talk about, like, you know, the person, their child, and I say, like, you know, what do they like to do? What are their hobbies? What do they not like? You know, have they had any work experience? Anything like that? Anything like where it's like, you know, someone has like work experience. How was that experience for them? Was it successful? Was it not? Did they stay employed long term? Okay, where were the shortcomings there? Why didn't they keep that employment and things like that? We have an assessment that we kind of created, with a lot of basic skills that we have all of our intakes take. It covers a variety of different topics, such as like professionalism, appropriate dressing, interview skills, reading comprehension, being able to, like, situational assessments, like if they're able to understand like a situation or things like that. So we have that assessment, and we have like a grading scale in which we kind of follow. And with that grading scale that we follow, it helps us kind of really determine exactly where they would fall in that category, where exactly which exactly program would be best for them. And we always take the family's input into consideration. You know, we may feel like the person we support or their child is rather would fit well in this program, you know, because of the way that they did on the assessment and things like that. But the family may say, you know, like, I think that this may be too tough at first. It may be too much for them to handle. I think that maybe we need to start here. And it's really just working with your families and talking with them and figuring out, like, is this really going to be the best program, and understanding that, you know, like, I'm very open and honest with my families that kind of come on, and I'm like, if this doesn't work, we try a different way. So now we lost both of our hosts.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Very peculiar.
Yeah, I just want to give them a second. I mean, do you guys have anything else that, like, you think you guys want to add about like the intake process or anything like that?
Well, you and I have done. Oh, there's you.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
That's okay.
My computer just completely crashed.
That's what happens when we're on a live stream.
Yeah, this is like the pitfalls of doing things live and from a remote place. That studio's looking real good right about now. So I'm sorry, Gabby. So to go back to what you were saying, so we do put a lot of input in what families have to say.
Yeah.
Yes, and where did we go from there?
So it's a lot of just being honest with the families and letting the families know, like, hey, like, this is, like, where are our difficulties, where are we struggling, what can we do to make sure that they're in the proper placement. I'm very honest with my families, which is what I was saying, is that if this doesn't work, you try a different route, and just being aware that there's not a lot of just being aware that even though something doesn't maybe work the first time, there's always another way that we can get there. I mean, I have to say that with a lot of the enrollments that we've done and the way where we've placed a lot of the people that have been enrolled in the program, they have really done well in their placements. I mean, I don't think that we've ever had anyone as of yet that has been placed somewhere that hasn't done well in that placement. And I think that that's like the best thing that we can really do. I was actually asking Andrew just to see like if there was any like thoughts on his like role in the intake process, because he sat on a couple of intakes with me to kind of just see like exactly like what he thought about like our intake process and stuff like that, and if there's anything like he wanted to add on top of what I kind of already said. So I don't know if you want to finish, Andrew.
Yeah, so like Abby was saying, I have sat in on a couple of intakes. I've done a few assessments by myself, and I think as Gabby was once again what Gabby was saying, that the best thing you can do is to be honest, to say this is where we're at, this is where we believe. This is the path we believe you should take right now to reach and exceed your potential. Because if we just kind of place them where they want to, and if they're not ready or don't have enough resources or enough practice or studies, then we're just doing them a disservice, and no one gains anything from that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is too is like if people are interested in like enrolling, we are like during this time, even through the whole COVID thing, we definitely still are taking enrollments and stuff like that, and we are still evaluating those needs of the people that we support. Especially after this whole COVID is over, there is going to be jobs. You know what I mean? And this is the appropriate time to kind of really kind of work on those skills and things like that. So if people are still interested in kind of enrolling the people that their children, they could email me directly, and my email is gnuara@pccsny.org. I think, Alyssa, you're going to throw it in that live thing for me.
Yeah. Of course I am.
So for all those enrollments, if anyone is interested in any of our programs, to kind of just even see what we're about. We're doing virtual intake meetings where we're kind of going over everything that we kind of do and what that kind of looks like, even on a remote level, so that the families kind of have the full scope.
So I have a random question. Who are some of the places that we've partnered up with for employment supports?
Sure. So we have someone that works at Trader Joe's, and they're just like us, a frontline employee, which is awesome. We also work with Because We Can Sports, where we have a person that we support that is a coach for their various like sport programs that they have. So that's kind of something that's cool. We also partnered with the Pride Center. We have someone that works at the Pride Center. We also had someone. We have a partnership with Snug Harbor. So we had someone that was working at Snug Harbor as well. I'm trying to think if there was anywhere else that I was missing, Andrew.
No, I believe.
I think that's really like the big partnerships we have right now. We were in the middle of, right before COVID, we were in the middle of finding another partnership with a music store. The way that we do things here at PCCS is a little bit different. We ask the person that we support where they want to work. and we go out and we get that site. You know what I mean? So it's not like, like, oh, you could, we work with these 5 places, so you can have a job at one of these 5 places. We're very much like, where do you want to be? What is something that you would like to do? Let's go find a job that's willing to kind of partner with us on that. So, we had someone that was interested in working at a music store, because they love music, and they kind of wanted to be in that scene. We were in the middle of starting that partnership, and then they closed their store, so we had to stop right now. But the person we support is still working on those skills and things like that, and then hopefully when everything does open back up, or there is some type of operation where they can go back into that that office, they definitely still can go, and they could possibly start working there. So it's a little bit different in the terms of like the sites that we have. It's a little bit more what the person is looking for. And also, when we have those sites, we also ask the employers at Trader Joe's, at Because We Can Sports, if we have someone else that's interested in working with you, are you willing to also employ them? And everyone has been great. All of our sites that we have, they're totally willing to have hire someone else if they're totally interested, which is pretty much the best thing that we could hope for, really.
I think that is great because it definitely tries to break the stereotype of somebody with a disability having a job. I think that it's very frequent that we think of people with a disability being in a very specific sort of job. They're like a bagger at a store, or which by all means is wonderful for that kind of inclusivity, but also there are people who want, like you said, to work in a music store, to want to work in where they are passionate about, which I think that everyone can identify with, working somewhere where you're passionate, Yeah,
I think that that's really like a really big hardship that we face, like a lot of the times, like there are the kind of these preconceived like notions or jobs as to where, the people that have a disability can work or should work. And I think that we challenge that. You know what I mean? If someone wants to work at a zoo, you know what I mean? They definitely, should be able to be given that opportunity, and it may take a while to build that partnership. It may start off with a volunteer opportunity, going in, making that relationship. It may be a lot more on Andrew and I to kind of go and build that partnership with them and let them know, like, hey, like this is something that, like we have someone that would be a really great fit here. You know what I mean? This is what we're willing to do. Give us a list of things that, maybe someone that like would do these kind of these job duties, and let us work with them. I like that we challenge that norm. I like that we kind of go out of our way to make sure that we're like, okay, you want to work here, this is, let's try. And if it's not the exact location or the exact place, it's pretty close to it. You know what I mean? We may not be able to get everything, but hopefully one day in our worlds, like we will, there won't be any issues or any difficulties doing that. We could kind of just go out and do that, which would be really great.
That really does sound so great. So Doreen, I actually have a question for you. Do you have any input from any of the people that we support specifically on their experiences being enrolled in employment supports?
Well, right now I do shadow an individual at Trader Joe's through the SEM program, and he's doing great. They all love him at Trader Joe's. I shadow him on a Sunday for 2 hours, and he's doing great. He's very happy going in. He loves working with the individuals. The individuals love him, and he's doing great, and he's very happy there.
Wow, and Trader Joe's on a Sunday, man.
That's bold.
No joke, so.
Yes, it can be very hectic in there at times. He does. He'll do the shopping carts. He'll clean the bathroom, the men's bathroom, of course. He'll go in. He'll stock the shelves. And from when I first started working with him, he needed a lot of shadowing, but I think I've been with him, Andrew, about 6 months now, shadowing him.
At the very least.
Yeah. And he's doing great. Very little. I go in, check on him, ask him how he's doing. He's got a great attitude, and he tells me, I'm okay. And I know when to back off, and when he needs me, he comes and finds me. I check on him and he goes, I'm good to go. And I back off a little bit.
Nice. That's awesome.
That sounds great. I love Trader Joe's, so I'm a little partial of all the sites. So I'm happy.
I always come home with something on Sunday.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I love their ice cream specifically. So, guys, this is an open-ended question for whoever wants to take it. Where do we go from here? Now, post-COVID, where do we go from here?
Yeah, that is the question. I think that the remote learning that we've kind of been doing, the remote learning or the remote like services, the telehealth services, I think that we have one person in support we support in particular that his mom and I chatted yesterday, and she has like reiterated over and over again how like grateful she is with the remote learning. She said that although it's a little bit more difficult for her because she needs to just kind of like be there to assist and make sure that the computer is working and things like that, she clearly sees like what is being worked on with her son, and she loves the fact that he's retaining the information and she sees the progress even at home. You know what I mean? So I think just expanding that, we do encourage the people we support, like they can go and still get a job. They can still go and, go for an interview if they feel like it. And our job coaches will be right there beside them. In the employment world, like, if they want a job, that you got to go get it, regardless of the pandemic and stuff, there is still opportunities open that they can always grab, and we'll be right there with them. It's a little bit more difficult to make those partnerships, you know what I mean, but a lot of them are seeing a lot of them are like saying like, oh, like maybe we can work here, you know what I mean, and we'll go and we'll say, okay, well, how do we apply, how do we do all this. The really difficult thing that I think that we're facing a lot right now is the face-to-face contact. You know what I mean? There's a lot of, we're doing everything remotely, all telehealth, and we have a Google Classroom that they can utilize. And Doreen had mentioned that, they're using YouTube videos and things like that. And we provide them with like, whatever whatever we're going over for that day, there's kind of like a little take home assignment. Like it's like, okay, we talked about this today. Now, for the next time, think about this question, and why don't you give me your answer, or what you think that the next, what do you think we should talk about next time, or things like that. And I think that they're doing really well with that. It's just really like being with them in the same room, doing certain things that are a little bit different. But I mean, it prepares them for the real world. There really is no knowing of when we're going to open back up again. Maybe they may be doing remote interviews for all we know. You know what I mean? They may be doing either phone interviews or like a video interview. You know what I mean? So that is, it's a little bit more realistic in the sense of like the terms that we're in now. I mean, I hope that, there is a little bit more where we can be a little bit more face to face. They do have the option to kind of like meet with our job coaches if they want to go, especially with the nice weather permitting. Like they can definitely go to a park and meet with them face to face, and of course maintain social distancing and stuff like that. But it's just a very different world, an ever changing world. But I think like we're kind of ready for that challenge, and we've been really doing really well. I mean, a lot of the people that we support are still getting services through employment, and they're making that progress, and they're very happy. And it is a little challenging, and everyone has their rough days, but we get through it together. And I think that's the most kind of important thing that we could do during this time of crisis, and just be there for each other, and provide that support when needed.
I think that the passion obviously is very palpable between the staff, the people that we support getting jobs that they're passionate about, the families that are clearly appreciating the abilities that you guys have to be flexible and kind of work through that. I think that is one of the better aspects. Is definitely you could see the passion involved in the projects. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think PCCS as a whole too, being that we speak to so many people, even just in the last couple of weeks, hearing the heart that goes behind the work that everybody is doing is just really endearing because you don't see that very often. So it's really nice to see how happy, and how positive all of the experiences the people that we support are receiving as well, especially during a time where people with or without disabilities don't know what end is up. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So it's just really great that everybody's kind of staying strong and hanging in there. So really want to say thanks, guys, for all that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna leave us with this last question, and we'll go around. Are there any silver linings to this pandemic? Any positive notes that we think that are going to come out of it a year from now? We're gonna look back and say, "Oh wow, this is what the pandemic did for us."
For me, all I could say is we don't know. Before the COVID, we probably didn't know what our strengths were, but during this COVID, we really found out what our strengths are,
Mm, mm.
That's great.
especially with our individuals that we support and we work with. They didn't even know what their strengths were. And we're finding out that they're learning that they do have strengths that they never knew they had. The family's the same thing too. Where I know with my individuals, I know their families are surprised at what their children can do. And I'm surprised also because in the office, it's one thing to work with them, but when you have to work with them remotely, let me tell you, they shock me every day. And I am so extremely proud of each and every one of them that they have come through this COVID and they keep going every day. And it gives me a reason to get up in the morning to work with them.
Love it.
Me too. I love all of them.
That's great.
I couldn't think of anything else that I would want to do right now.
I think for me, it's really uplifting to kind of see that this kind of hit us all like without warning. You know what I mean? It just kind of like it was a conversation. There's a pandemic coming, and then boom, everything closed, and it's like we were scrambling. It's like, oh my god, like and I think on our minds the entire time was, how are we going to help the other people we support? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And to be at a place where we're doing it and we're there, it's awesome. You know what I mean? In March, like 20th, you would have asked me, how we're going to do it. I would have been like, I have no idea. You know what I mean? I really just.
Hey, imagine the whole world just stopped. How are you going to keep running your program?
Right. It was really something that it was really hard to believe that we were kind of going to get here, and I think that even the parents calling me and saying, I'm really seeing the improvement in my son or my daughter, or hey, the job coaches, they're really going out of their way to make sure that they're, teaching them. That's great. You know what I mean? That's great. The parents don't always get to see that. You know what I mean? For when they're in the building or when they're with us at the job site, it's the parents are not always there. So to be in a setting where they're actually seeing their child get the service and they're actually hearing their child respond to the questions or do the whatever it is that their activity they're doing, it's really great to have that. So I mean, for me, the fact that we're making it work is really just, and we're doing it together is really just honestly the silver lining there.
Can I just say one thing? I have to say, Gabby, Andrew, all you guys, you've also been there for me too, guiding me along this, because I had no clue what I was going to do at home. And you guys have been amazing, helping support me also during this, all of you. And thank you so much for the shirt that I can't wear that Andrew's got on. I would have gladly worn it today. But again, thank you guys for always being there for us also.
Of course, yeah.
Can I work with Doreen? Oh.
I want a Doreen.
No, you don't want to work with me. Sometimes I get strict with some of my individuals, not naming names, but it's the parents are really surprised. I know one of the parents is like, whoa, my child is actually doing this? I says, yeah, he's doing it. I always say, never doubt an individual, an adult, a child, never doubt them that they got a disability. Never doubt them because they're soaring right now.
There you go. Yeah.
I think Andrew. Yeah.
Okay. I know. I just want to be like, I didn't want to talk over anyone. Um, I think Alyssa's frozen. Oh, there we go. But
I'm here. Sorry.
I think out of this whole, I think out of this whole thing, I think the silver lining is that people are a lot more appreciative of one having the time to focus and work on on themselves. I think another thing is learning to appreciate what they they had. Just being able to go outside, be able to go to a park. Like, you don't think about this time last year, you wouldn't think about, oh my God, it's so great that we can go to a restaurant to eat outside.
I'm going to Chili's today. Hey.
Yeah. So it's like, you'd be like, oh, we're going to Chili's. That's awesome. But like now,
Right.
fast forward a year, it's like, oh my God, we're going to Chili's.
I've been waiting for Chili's for weeks.
Yes. So
I know.
So really feeling that sense of, wow, I know I was going to miss all this so much. I didn't know that I was taking for granted all of this. So I think this has a really strong sense of appreciation.
I like that.
I know. My son says, "When is this over? I want to go to Longhorn." And I said, "Well, Cuddy, I don't know what to tell you."
It's
like-
come on.
It's so true. I feel like I'm making a list of all the restaurants that I'm like waiting to hit up now that the world is starting to open. So I understand. I feel
Bayou
you
on
guys.
Bay Street. Bayou.
Yes.
Shout out to Bayou.
You cool. Well, I want to say, like I said, I do want to thank you guys so much for all of your hard work during this entire time, because, without you, we wouldn't really still be standing at this point. The people that we support really rely on you guys more now than ever, especially being that this is just a time where everyone just doesn't know the next step, doesn't know where to go from here. So I just want to thank you guys again. You really are DSP strong. I do want to thank you for joining us today. I want to also put out there again that Gabby's contact info for anybody who is looking to enroll in any of our programs or get more information or even know what is the first step from here. It's gnoira@pccsny.org up on the screen. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today on our PCCS emPower Hour, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you guys for having us
Thank you,
again. We
guys.
appreciate it.
Bye.